Hi, welcome to my video this week on growing anemones. They're great wee flowers to grow in your garden at home. They are so cheerful after a long winter, lots of lovely colours, and you'll get a really good crop from them lasting several weeks if you keep cutting them. You can cut them for enjoying in your home in a vase and they'll last a good several days there. Anemone corms are easy to grow and you can start them off at different times of the year. You can start them off in the autumn for the best crop and these will then flower in the spring, or you can start them off like I have today in the winter time and these will give you slightly later flowers in early summer. The crop won't be quite as good, it won't last as many weeks, but you'll still get a really nice display. Or you can plant them in the springtime and these will give you flowers in the late summer. When you first get your anemones home, out of the packet you'll see that they're quite hard, nut-like little things. And to get them off to an easier start in life, you can pre-sprout them. And the first stage of this is to soak them in water for about 4 to 6 hours. You can leave them for as much as 24 hours overnight, but then get them out and plant them up after that. And soaking them just means that they soften up, they plumpen up, and they find it easier to send out little rootlets and will give you flowers just that little bit earlier than you otherwise would get them. So what we're going to do is just fill a bucket up with a few inches of lukewarm water, pop our anemone corms in and leave them like that for the next 4 to 6 hours. Then we'll come back, drain the water off, and we'll plant the anemone corms up. Now that we have been soaking our anemone corms for the last few hours, we're ready to start pre-sprouting them. So here's the anemone corms here. You can see that they are nicely plumped up now and ready to be put on for pre-sprouting. And you could sow anemone corms directly in the ground in the spring if you wanted to, but if you pre-sprout them, this just gives you a jump start and you should be able to get anemones flowering just a few weeks earlier. So we're going to first of all fill a seed tray with our multi-purpose compost. Like this. There we go. Just spread it all out. And then we're going to give that a water. Our tray is watered and we have nice damp compost. We can start laying our anemones out on top of it. So we just spread them out in the tray. Doesn't matter which way up they go, as long as they're spaced out, not quite touching each other. I've got the last couple in here. You can start anemone corms off a couple of different times of year. You can sow them in the autumn directly into the ground or pre-sprout them again and then plant them out. If you are putting them out over the autumn to overwinter them, they should be absolutely fine unless you have a really cold winter. If the temperatures go down to -2, 3, 4, you might want to cover them with some frost cloth just to protect them. These anemones here we are planting in winter, so you can plant them in late winter, early spring. Again, pre-sprout them if you want to get a head start and a few weeks earlier flowers, or you can plant them directly in the ground. Once we've got them in our seed tray nicely laid out, we just need to sprinkle a little bit of compost over the top of them. Anemones don't like to be waterlogged, so I will be checking these over the next couple of weeks just to make sure that the compost is still moist but not waterlogged, because they tend to rot and then you won't get any flowers. Compost over here. Once I have finished off this tray, I'm going to move it inside where it's warmer, since it's January and freezing overnight at the moment. And I'm going to keep an eye on it over the next 10 to 14 days. I would expect to start to see little rootlets coming out of the anemones. And then once we've got the roots on the anemones, we can pot them up into individual 3 or 4 inch pots and keep them under cover until the springtime, when we'll plant them out in the garden to get some beautiful flowers. It's the 30th of January now, and it's 7 days since we put the anemones into soak and then put them in our seed tray here. And we can have a little look and see how they're getting on. Let's have a look over here, dig an anemone corm out, see if it's got any roots. That one doesn't. But you can see here that this anemone has started to get little rootlets on it, and these will grow over the next few days if we just leave it there. See if we've got any more. There's another one here with its little rootlets starting to grow. And in a week's time we'll check back again and have a look, and we'll be able to plant a lot of these anemones up, and because they've pre-sprouted they'll get away really quickly, and then they'll just give us flowers in the springtime that little bit sooner. Hi there, it's a miserable day outside today, lots of rainy sleet and the snow is starting to wash away. It's a day to be in the greenhouse and having a look at these anemones that we started to pre-sprout 2 weeks ago. If you remember, they went in for their initial soak in their bucket of water for 4 to 6 hours. We then put them in our seed trays, covered in their damp compost, and left them over the last couple of weeks in a warm place indoors to start sprouting. And if we have a look at our tray today, we'll see what we have got. So if you just have a dig around in your tray, you can see here that this is an anemone that has got lots of little rootlets coming down now, and it's got some shoots growing up at the top, ready to get planted up. So that's brilliant. Having a look around, there's quite a few of these that I can see. Another one there with lots of lovely roots. Some of them you'll find haven't done anything at all, so this one here is looking a bit more rotten on the top. It doesn't look like it's going to come to much, so we'll just remove that one. Have a look and see what else we can find. There's another one there, some nice roots and a shoot starting to come up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the whole tray now. We're going to work out which ones aren't doing anything but still look okay. We'll probably put them back to see if they'll pre-sprout again. We're going to take out the ones that have any roots and shoots on them, and we're going to plant them up. So these anemones here I'm going to plant up in 3-inch pots. It's still freezing overnight and there's snow on the ground, so it's not the right time for me to be planting these directly out into the garden. If it was a warmer climate, if it was a bit further on in the season, then I would plant them out and probably just cover them with some frost cloth if the temperatures dip too low overnight. Anemones don't mind a little bit of cold, but they will need some protection from severe frosts. I've been through the whole of my tray now, and I've removed all of the anemones that are looking good. They've got roots on them, they've got shoots. Any of them that are looking good, that haven't sprouted yet, I've left in the tray and I'll put back inside and see if they do anything over the next few days. And any that didn't look so good and were looking a bit mouldy, I've removed now because those aren't going to come to anything. So we're ready to plant these up. So to start off with, just now we're going to take our 3-inch pots and we are going to fill them with some multi-purpose compost again. It's got a little bit of vermiculite in there just for a bit of improved drainage. So I'm going to pop some into my 3-inch pots, like this. Do one more there to show you. And then we're just going to take our anemones, and roots go down and the shoots are at the top. So we're just going to pop those into our pots. And we will cover them up with a little bit of soil round about. Just so that we can see that little shoot coming out at the top there. And we'll do another one here. They all vary in size. Some of them haven't got shoots coming out at the top yet, but they do have nice root systems, so they will come as well. We'll just cover that up with a bit of compost, and I'd expect in the next couple of weeks to see lots of nice green shoots appearing. And I've got quite a lot to do here still. I'm going to keep potting those on, and once I have finished and I've got my trays full, I'll give them a good water and we'll keep them out here in the greenhouse to protect them from the cold weather until it warms up. Then when it warms up in March, April time, I'll get them out into the garden and I'll plant them out about 15 centimetres apart, giving them enough room to grow into nice bushy plants. So that's me planted all the anemones up now. I've got the trays to go back inside of the ones that haven't pre-sprouted yet that I'll just keep an eye on for another few days. And I've got my trays here of the ones potted up, and I'll just show you a close up here so you can see. So that is my little anemone in its pot with the roots down and the little sprout coming up the top. If you get to a few more days time and your anemones that are still in your tray don't look like they're doing anything at all, but they're not mouldy, they're still nice and firm, you can try potting those ones up as well. It's suggested that you plant them pointy end down when they're not showing any roots, so it's quite difficult sometimes to know which way to put them. But anemones are quite clever and they will figure out how to put their roots down and their shoots up. It shouldn't really matter which way you put the corm in the pot. They'll still find their way to the light and grow the way they're supposed to grow. Thanks for watching my video today on how to grow anemones. I love these little flowers. They're such cheerful bursts of colour in the springtime after a hard winter. And they're great because they're cut and come again flowers, which means we can chop them at the base, bring some into the house to enjoy, and more flowers should follow after that for a good few weeks. If you've enjoyed watching my video about anemones today, please do subscribe to my channel. There's going to be lots more videos to come as the growing season gets underway. In the next couple of weeks, I'll be starting the seed sowing for the year with those first hardy annuals. After a morning in the greenhouse potting these anemones up and hearing the rain thundering down on the roof, it's time now to get warm in the house and have a cup of tea. I'll see you on the next video.